Well, first off, there is going to be probably more than one video about this subject, and the reason why is because there's a good possibility that both Will and Ben will be joining me with their thoughts. Will is, well, let's just say Will's got some things he wants to get off his chest, and I'm giving him this forum here on Pop to do just that. And Ben just wants to talk about the event itself, so you'll probably look forward to their commentaries on WrestleMania 30 in the coming days. Hopefully, if everything works out with scheduling, it will come in the next couple of days, literally the next 2 days. I'm hoping, fingers crossed for tonight, actually, because tonight is Raw, and of course, this is the Raw after WrestleMania, and anything can happen. And just like at WrestleMania, anything did happen. Including something that most people thought would never happen. So, we start off the show with the fact that we had a 2-hour pre-show. The 2-hour pre-show was brought exclusively via the WWE Network, which means it wasn't available on your digital cable boxes, and it wasn't available before the actual event itself aired on pay-per-view. No, it was only available to the network, which means unless you lived in the United States, you didn't get to see this. And of course, the regular, way in advance pre-taped show featuring Scott Stanford hosting was what you got if you were ordering the event on your televisions. Which, I don't know a lot of people that ordered the pay-per-views. I'm sure people outside of the US had to, obviously. I'm sure a lot of you out there already have the WWE Network and know how amazing it truly is. And I know what you're thinking, oh, and you're just going to wax poetic about the WWE Network. And I'm thinking, well, not necessarily, but I will say that it is $9.99 a month, well spent. Well spent, because I spend a lot of time, whether I'm just sitting here, I'm bored, I want to flip on a match, I have that access. Or if I have, let's just say I'm in a compromising situation where I don't really want to associate with many others, I kind of just put on the network and just kind of veg, to be totally honest. Which is ironic, me saying veg, since I wouldn't touch a vegetable, someone paid me. So, I thought that was funny, at least in my head. Now, I want to talk WrestleMania 30, and I want to start with the Hall of Fame ceremony. And it was a really awesome Hall of Fame ceremony. It's about 3.5 hours, which for somebody who does award show coverage on the regular every year, I wasn't exactly surprised to see this. I don't know about history basically telling me that the uncensored long versions of the Hall of Fame ceremonies have never been officially released. They've released bits and pieces, but I'm sure there were tweaks and cuts here and there. Oh no. With the exception of the 7-second delay on a couple of curse words, yeah, there was almost no censoring, and it was 3.5 hours of entertainment. And, you know, honestly, I'm going to start with saying I'm a big Lita fan, and I go all the way back to something that she mentioned in her Hall of Fame speech. And she was talking about going to ECW, showing up at the Hara Arena in Dayton, Ohio for ECW Heatwave 99. And that was the first time I saw her in person. Of course, she was Miss Congeniality, Angelica, and she was in the corner of Dastardly Danny Doring and the Angry Amish Warrior Roadkill. So, this was a match against Nova and Chris Chetti, actually, and the match wasn't bad. But yes, I was there in attendance. I was front row in attendance for this matchup, and it's pretty much as a fan when I realized that Amy Dumas was to me, the most beautiful woman in professional wrestling at that point. And then when she came to the WWE and she worked with S.A. Rios, and then she worked with the Hardy Boys, and she had her program with Trish Stratus. I mean, I enjoyed all of this stuff. I really did. And, you know, I was very happy to see her get inducted. I know I went on record saying that someone else should have been inducted. They should have inducted Medusa before they inducted Lita. But then again, this is about WWE contributions, not necessarily just professional wrestling. There is a Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and Vince McMahon has nothing to do with it. That's for the entire wrestling industry, not just one promotion and the promotions it now owns because it bought everybody out in a corporate monopoly. Now, I will say right now that I enjoyed the speech. It did go on a tad long. It went almost 45 minutes, and I enjoyed the stories. I enjoyed the putovers, talking about a lot of names you never hear on television, like Ace Steel and Danny Dominion, and even talking about Dreamer and all sorts of names that were dropped. S.A. Rios' name was dropped. I know one certain wrestler that would be very happy to hear the fact that S.A. Rios' name was dropped. And actually two, to think about it specifically. And I will say right now that I like the induction of Lita. I thought it worked pretty well for me. I will say that the Jake the Snake Roberts induction was spectacular. It could have went a little bit longer, and I understand why it didn't, but it was extremely heartfelt and extremely understanding of exactly where Jake is at this point in his career. The fact that he is still standing after all that has been put up against him, time after time throughout all of these years, is staggering, to say the least. I myself do have a Jake the Snake Roberts story, and I know a lot of people that are in the wrestling business, or formerly in the wrestling business, have one as well, some better than others. Mine's not necessarily flattering, so I will say that I have spent time with Jake the Snake Roberts before, and it was an interesting experience, to say the least. That being said, that Jake Roberts that I met so many years ago, completely different from the Jake the Snake Roberts that stood on that stage at the Hall of Fame on Saturday night, and it was awesome to see him getting inducted. Obviously, with you guys knowing about my extreme fear of snakes, I've never been a Jake Roberts fan, but yes, I will agree that he is one of the greatest ring psychologists of all time. And it was really awesome to see the induction, given the fact that he's come so far in such a long, hard road, and everybody had him in the death pool, and everybody thought that Jake wouldn't survive, but he's still kicking, he's still standing. And for the fans that were chanting for one more match, Jake just shut him down right then and there. He basically said he just can't do it anymore. And it pains him to know that he can't do it anymore. And the only lady he ever stayed loyal to, that he never cheated on, was the squared circle, was the ring itself. I mean, Jake basically just laid it out on the line. He said everything that has been bottled up inside for so many years. And I'm telling you, it was a tremendous and very heartfelt induction. And I like Diamond Dallas Page, I do. Jerry Lawler was hosting the show, and he called him DDT, which is funny. At least to me it was. DDP came out, shilled for DDP Yoga. I get that 100%. DDP Yoga is the reason that certain wrestlers are still with us to this day. Because Dallas Page has taken a extreme negative in somebody's life, a self-destructive personality of a lot of wrestlers in our industry, and he has turned it into a positive. Yeah, I get it. He's Positively Page. Makes sense. It's his book. And it's awesome, by the way, if you haven't read it. But I will say that, yeah, Dallas Page is the reason why certain wrestlers are still with us. And it's a detriment to him for being the reason why certain people are still standing after all these years. And they're not meek and feeble either. I mean, obviously they show their age. I mean, Father Time catches up with you. That's what happens, and we'll talk about that as we progress in the show. But when it all is said and done, it really is awesome to see the fact that two members of the Accountability Crib and two main supporters of DDP Yoga and two great examples of what it actually can do not only are still standing, but they're in a lot better health than they've ever been in years. They are clean, and they are also getting inducted in a WWE Hall of Fame when a lot of people thought it would never happen. And that was really interesting to see them go that direction. I will say right now, we go to Mr. T's speech, and I said it on Twitter, and I'm going to stick with this. Mr. T's mother is a saint, and if you don't know that, then now you do, and she must be treated as such. Mr. T basically took his entire acceptance speech, and he really made me understand that he is in love with the Lord, and I totally understand that. But it was interesting placement. It went on for a bit, but it was also heartfelt in a completely different way. Now, Mr. T took his entire speech to basically put over his mother and how much he owed his mother. And I'm sure everybody out there, at least everyone I've talked to personally, once that speech was over, went and hugged their mother if they had the opportunity to do so, or did it the next day after, like I did. And basically, because they knew they needed to respect their mothers after Mr. T's interesting acceptance speech. The one thing that a lot of people will be kind of indifferent towards is exactly how it ended. And after it went for quite a while, Kane actually came out himself, and he pretty much did the humanized version of what I like to call in Oscar terms as Jurassic Park, since the playoff music that the orchestra plays when someone's gone a little too long in their acceptance speech sounds to me a lot like the Jurassic Park score, so forever and a day I've always called it being Jurassic Park. So that was really interesting, and a lot of people were up in arms about that. But basically Mr. T, he kind of apologized, and after he said he loved his mother on every single holiday on the calendar, getting the fans to chant "What?" and giving Steve Austin, who's sitting right in the front row next to Hulk Hogan, the biggest laugh of the evening, which was awesome, by the way, because Austin was just sitting back laughing hysterically as his "What?" was taking over the entire building. A lot of disrespectful fans in attendance, and that came through really well on the network broadcast. I know a lot of people that were personally there at the Hall of Fame. I've yet to talk to them personally on a one-on-one basis, but I will say that at least for watching it on the network like I did, the crowd came off really disrespectful in places. And there was a mention, apparently before the show started, that the building was going to be really adamant about kicking people out for the slightest, problem, the slightest chant going wrong, or the slightest anything, the slightest interruption. They would basically just get thrown out the back door, like Jazz on the Fresh Prince. Now, actually, he got thrown out the front door, but that's another story altogether. So, we had that, and of course this led into the induction of William Moody, who is WWE's late great pallbearer, and I was a big Moody fan back to the days of Percival Pringle III in World Class, and all the stuff that he's done in the Indies until he got to the WWF, and 1990 when Bruce Pritchard, when he was doing the Brother Love gimmick, decided to just bring him in, and Brother Love got trounced by the Ultimate Warrior, taken off television purposely forever. And after that, even though he came back many, many years later in the gimmick Battle Royal at WrestleMania, I would say that the character of Paul Bearer and The Undertaker went together absolutely perfectly. And I can understand from a perspective of knowing what I know that it was right for Paul Bearer to go into the Hall of Fame, and it was right for The Undertaker to do exactly what he did at the end of the induction. And the induction was handled beautifully by Kane. Of course, Kane was the storyline other son of Paul Bearer, and it was done so well. And it was very, very apropos that somebody would do it. And of course, Bearer's sons helped accept the award and the nomination itself, which was awesome. Give it up to Kane and everything. Of course, you don't really hear Kane with the breaking of kayfabe very often, but I mean, it did happen. It happened in droves. It was nice. We got a nice little story about what Bill Moody has done for the wrestling business and what he continues to do in spirit in the wrestling business for years to come, including the perfect end to the exact introduction, which was The Undertaker coming out for his first and last Hall of Fame appearance until he's put in himself. It looks like it's going to be next year at this rate. I would say that it was the perfect way to end, with him raising the urn to the graphic of Rest in Peace, William Moody. So yes, I very much appreciated that from that standpoint. Now, the Colognes, they were second to last, but before them was another success story courtesy of DDP Yoga, and that is the induction of the WWE characterization of Scott Hall, which is the bad guy, Razor Ramon. And it was really awesome to see Hall get inducted finally, after all that he's been through. The fact that Scott Hall was on death watch himself at one point, even more so than Jake, if that's even believable at this point. He was on a nowhere bus so quickly, and now he has completely been rejuvenated. Now he's helping to guide the new independent career of his son, Cody Hall, who is working in the indies right now, who probably will end up in WWE somewhere down the line, if I had to guess. I will say right now that it was really interesting to see this induction. And I know what a lot of people are saying, why not induct Scott Hall? Why induct Razor Ramon? Razor Ramon, it was the WWE's creation, obviously. 4-time Intercontinental Champion, member of the Wrestlemania ladder match with Shawn Michaels, and the subsequent ladder match rematch at SummerSlam of 1995 that I was in attendance at in Pittsburgh, which was Razor and Shawn too. So yes, it was really nice to see Razor get inducted, and really awesome for Sean Waltman, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels to come out afterwards that Kevin Nash inducted him, which was awesome in its own right. Nash inducted him, and it was the right thing to do, and we had a nice little click reunion, a nice little selfie that was taken on Twitter. That was pretty cool. And I was really happy. And one of the things kind of lays true right now. And Scott Hall said something that will live in infamy forever and a day. And it was a line that says, "Hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do." And what tremendous words to live for, and words to live by Scott Hall there. And to continue the ceremony, like I said, the Colognes came out. Carlito was out, and he made a nice little jab at WWE, basically saying that, well, you've got the Clique coming out, and Warrior's the main. Why don't we go ahead and set the Colognes out? Our time has been cut. It's like I never even left, which was hilarious. And I said that Carlito would be in the Battle Royal on this very channel, and yeah, that pretty much squashed that right there. So, yeah, that was interesting. And Primo and Epico, without masks, not doing the horrible Los Matadores gimmick, they inducted their father, Carlos Colon. Good God, it's been a long day. And it was an awesome speech. I will totally be honest here and say that I didn't really understand part of it, because a lot of it was in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak any other language. That's not disrespecting anyone that does. It's just I never really had to take anything in school like most people did. I took other electives. I never had to take a foreign language. So, I mean, that's just how it works. So I didn't really understand most of it. It was a nice shout out to people like Ric Flair, Harley Race, Abdullah the Butcher, people that he worked with in Puerto Rico. Obviously, no mention of Bruiser Brody, but I understand why there wasn't. So, he would get mentioned later on in the night, but we'll talk about that in a moment. The last inductee and the main event of the evening would be Jim Hellwig, now legally known as Warrior. Not Warrior, no, he's just simply Warrior. It says that on his license, like Teller. His shoot name is Teller. He's like, he went and had the trouble to change his name legally to Teller, just like Warrior has. And Warrior come out, of course, he looks like, right now he looks like Ron Perlman, I'm not gonna lie. So he is the ultimate Hellboy. Now, Warrior had a really long speech, and I know a lot of people were really interested in what he had to say with the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior DVD. And of course, he did mention things about that. The fact that basically he was mad about it, but he also felt hurt by it, to be totally honest. And there was put-overs for Steve Lombardi, which is really nice. He put over the ring crew, the untold heroes of WWE, like the backstage attendants, the people that most people would never even mention in a million years. And it was really awesome to see that in its entirety, and the Warrior basically said some interesting things, but by the time it was over, number one, it went a long time, and number two, by the time it was over, there was a lot of people that didn't seem very happy, to say the least. So yeah, Warrior had an interesting speech to say. That's pretty much all it says to say right now, so. A couple things I will talk about the Hall of Fame ceremony itself. The quality was awesome. I had a couple buffering issues, but that was the only issue I really had. And when it would buffer, it would go to, like, not as good quality, to be honest. And that was the only complete issue I had with it whatsoever. So that was pretty much where we were going to go with that. And two things I want to talk about. One was really awesome that Wade Barrett came out. And Wade Barrett just put everybody under like he does so well, and made the Big Show laugh. That was funny. Barrett was awesome. The thing that did not need to be done was the thing they did with Hornswoggle chasing El Torito, and then El Torito goring Jerry Lawler in the nuts. Yeah, that was dumb. Stupid. Whoever came up with that idea, they should be fired on the spot. It was dumb. It didn't really need to be done at all. It didn't need to be done at all, and no kudos to these people for coming up with this brilliantly bad idea. So, this leads us to WrestleMania 30, and it was yesterday, and I want to talk about a couple of things real quick. So, like I said, Will and Ben hopefully will be joining me in the next couple of days, or at least in the next week or so, to talk about their ideals for what happened at the event, but I want to talk about it myself. So, we started out with a 2-hour pre-show. And I mean a 2-hour pre-show. You know that worthless stuff that happens like in January or February that everybody in the world marks out for, and there's like all sorts of like advertising, and it costs like $1 million for a commercial. You know, the Super Bowl thing doesn't matter. Yeah. See, the thing is right now, I mean, I could care less about that. I don't care about sports. I just don't. It's just how it works. I don't care about sports. People say, it's like, oh, they take too long. They're just going to analyze everything. Well, WWE did something like that this time around. And, you know, for me, it actually worked. Like, the first hour was kind of a throwaway. Josh Matthews, who has basically been relegated to hosting all of these WWE Network exclusive now, apparently. He started off with Booker T, Mick Foley, and Shawn Michaels. And it was really interesting that eventually Foley went to sit ringside with his family, and some football guy, Sean Merriman, I think is his name. Yeah, he wanted to show up as well, and he ended up taking that seat. Well, Trish Stratus took the seat at one point. Jimmy Hart took the seat at one point. So yeah, I'm going to cover that right now. Renee Young, looking gorgeous as ever, shows up in the social media lounge, and she notes that Hugh Jackman is once again the WrestleMania social media ambassador, so that was pretty cool. So, apparently, they had the idea that they were just going to wait until the last minute to make the fact that the 4-way WWE Tag Team Championship match is going to now be elimination rules. So, at the very last possible minute, they actually gave us that. And our first match, officially, WrestleMania 30, even though it was the pre-show, is for the WWE World Tag Team Championships. You had Jimmy and Jey Uso defending against Ryback and Curtis Axel, Diego and Fernando Los Matadores, and Cesaro and Jack Swagger of the Real Americans, of course with Zeb Coulter in their corner, and of course El Torito's in the corner of Matadors. Who cares? This match went pretty fast-paced, and I'm going to talk about a couple eliminations here. The Matadors were pretty much eliminated after a really awesome sequence here. So they hit some nice suicide dives off the top. Torito got up on the ring apron to dive himself. Curtis Axel, of all people, ends up catches him. And he tosses him into the ring, and he ends up getting cross-bodied in a Tower of Doom style maneuver onto everybody on the floor. Swagger rolls back into the ring, and Fernando gets hit with a forearm. He smartly kicks Cesaro off the ring apron, does Fernando, but he gets taken down and locked in the Patriot Lock. Fernando taps out, so he's eliminated first. Quick elimination for Los Matadores. No indication that Carlito's nice little shoot comments are the reason that his relatives did not last in this match. They were never going to, don't worry about it. So, we go midway through this match as well. We continue in. Swagger hits the belly-to-belly and goes for the Swagger Bomb. Jey Uso gets his boot up, and Ryback tags in. Spinebuster on Jey, Spinebuster on Jack Swagger, and the meat hook clothesline on Swagger. And he sets up, going for the shell shock. Cesaro tags himself in, and Ryback tries to bring him into the ring, and Cesaro pop-up, Swiss Death, Gotch-style neutralizer, 1, 2, 3 on Ryback, and Rybaxel have been eliminated. I hate that name. That's the reason I call them the Nexus Relocation Program. So, they're completely gone. So, it's down to the Usos and the Real Americans like it should have been from day one. That should have been the match anyway. And, of course, Cody Rhodes and Goldust should have probably been in this match as well if you really want to go completely technical. And they should have been. So, we go midway through the end, like we're going towards the finish here, and Jimmy Uso hits the Whisper in the Wind onto Swagger and Cesaro, makes a cover 1-2 and a kick out. So Swagger backs in the corner, and Jimmy goes for the Rikishi special, and Swagger moves out of the way, goes for the Patriot Lock, and Swagger holds on to it for dear life. Cesaro gets caught with a super kick, but he blocks it. Jey super kicks Swagger. Cesaro hits Swiss Death on Jey Uso. Jimmy super kicks Cesaro, and all men are down in the ring. So Cesaro is on the apron, makes the tag back in the ring as we go towards the absolute end of the match. Jey avoids the kick, and there's the uppercut. Sends Cesaro into Swagger to completely get him out of the way. The Usos double super kick, go up top, and they hit stereo superfly splashes, or Samoan splashes in this case, on Cesaro, get the clean pin, 1, 2, 3, and Jimmy and Jey Uso retain the WWE Tag Team Championships in the pre-show match here at WrestleMania 30. So after the match is over, Swagger finally has the nerve to yell at Cesaro for losing the match and inadvertently hitting him in the midsection. So Swagger wants to do the We the People, and of course Zeb Coulter comes in the ring trying to do some damage control, and Swagger puts Cesaro in the Patriot Lock, and of course he releases it. Zeb's like, what are you doing? And he's like, you guys need to hug this out. You guys are brothers. You need to stay on the same plan. And Swagger goes for the handshake. Cesaro double legs him, and he giant swings him to a huge pop, officially turning babyface. And that is the end of the first segment of WrestleMania 30. Now, I will say right now, this is overdue in every way possible. What I think will happen, this will be alluded to tonight on Raw, and I would say without any doubt that they will have a match at Extreme Rules. Swagger will get beaten like nobody's business, and Cesaro to move on to bigger and better things. A lot of people that obviously know more than I do will be saying for a long time that this breakout of Cesaro is going to lead to something major, and this major something will happen at SummerSlam. Now, I say that because obviously you have to get Extreme Rules out of the way, and the rematches on Extreme Rules, and the Vendetta matches at Extreme Rules. All that aside, Cesaro is going to be huge come SummerSlam time, and I know that's going to be the case, and I know Cesaro is going to be big because of something else that happens later on in the night, but again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, we didn't do the Andre Haku route like I thought they were going to. They will still stick Zeb with Swagger, and that's fine. Swagger definitely needs a mouthpiece without any doubt. Cesaro, it's debatable if he does or not. I think Cesaro can still get over as a strong babyface without being a talking head like a lot of people are. Can deliver amazing promos. I will say Cesaro's not bad at promos, he just doesn't have enough practice, to be totally honest. He didn't really have to talk much. Chris Hero talked for him in the Kings of Wrestling, so yeah, they really didn't have to do that very often. So now he has to talk on his own, and it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. The crowd definitely wanted to pop for Cesaro. They popped for the swing on Swagger, and it was a WrestleMania moment, to say the least. But that was not the big WrestleMania moment for the former Claudio Castagnoli. Oh no, that would come in the main show, and we will be talking about that in a moment. So we got to the opening of the show, and everyone's favorite ring announcer, Justin Roberts, announces the official host of WrestleMania 30, and that is the immortal Hulk Hogan. So Hogan comes to the ring, and he says, "Let me tell you something, brother," and the entire place just erupts, of course. And then he says he wants to welcome everyone to the Silver Dome, and Hogan, apparently Alzheimer's is sinking in because we're not in Michigan, we're in Louisiana. So, yeah, he says that and everyone turns on him. But to his credit, he did pretty much defend what he said, and we turned it into a punchline for later on in this really awesome way to start off the show. He says he was there for the first WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden, where him and Mr. T beat Rowdy Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. Yeah, he didn't say Orndorff, he said Orndorff. And Hogan says he can't believe he's in the Silver Dome, again, second mistake, for his WrestleMania 30. And he basically says, well, all my Hulkamaniacs have pretty much said that now I should let everyone know that I'm in the Superdome. I'm so super psyched right now, I can't remember where I am. And I'm like, well, that's about half true. So we're going to see 30 years of WrestleMania moments, and there'll be more special moments. Glass shatters. Obviously, I'm watching this with Will and Ben and a bunch of friends. And, of course, his house explodes when Austin comes out. Austin comes to the ring, stare down on Hogan. This is one of the last 3 matches left. This match will never happen, and this match should have happened years ago, but the money wasn't there for Hogan, so they didn't want to do it, and they probably couldn't agree he was going to do the job. Anyway, this is one of the dream matches we'll probably never see, and it's such a shame. But I will state right now, and I will say without any question, the match would be terrible. But I will say that I would see money doing Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin still. But, I mean, Austin's got 2 matches left. Technically 3 if they really want to do them. Dream matches. I'm not talking about Austin will wrestle 3 more matches in his life. I will say that there are potential matches left. And that would be actually 4 if you really want to throw The Rock in there. I mean, The Rock, and he has the big match against Hogan. Obviously, CM Punk. And, you know, honestly, there's reasons to put Austin in the ring with someone like a John Cena, or even like elevate someone else. But, I mean, it's not going to happen, so it's like one of those armchair booker things. And I feel like I'm on the Enterprise when I do that. Like I should be calling for an ensign right now. Now, Austin comes out. He says it's great to be back in the Silver Dome, looks at Hogan's face, and everybody goes crazy. When Austin gets inside the ring, he opens up a can of whoop-ass, and he beats the living hell out of whomever's in the ring with him. And, of course, he asks everybody the question everybody's thinking at this very moment. If you want to open a can of whoop-ass on Hulk Hogan, give me a hell yeah. Everyone says it, of course. And he basically says he watched all of Hulk Hogan's WrestleManias, and the crowd watched every single one of them, all the way up to WrestleMania 10, which Hulk Hogan is not a part of. WrestleMania 9 was the last WrestleMania before Hogan's long sabbatical. WrestleMania 10, Hogan, not even close, not even there. Sorry. Try again, but it still worked. Hogan has kicked a lot of ass for a long amount of time, and both men have been rather protective of their legacy. Now, he respects Hulk Hogan in every single way and what he did for the wrestling business. And, of course, he asked for another hell yeah in Hogan's honor. Now, he'd love to talk a little bit more, but you know what? It's the night for superstars to give it all that they got. The night for the current regime of the superstars to put everything on the line and leave it all in the ring. And of course, always remember Austin 3:16. The Rock's music hits. Rock comes out. He says, you know what, it's a true WrestleMania moment when all 5 senses are on fire. Taste it, feel it, smell it, because finally The Rock has come back to New Orleans. Which means The Rock has finally come back to WrestleMania. It's only been a year. The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and Steve Austin have finally come back to the Superdome. Yes, once again, jokes at Hulk Hogan's expense for the win. When he looks across the ring, he doesn't see just 2 of the biggest legends of all time. He doesn't just see 2 of the biggest icons. He sees his good buddy Steve Austin and his childhood idol Hulk Hogan, the 2 biggest names in the history of the WWE. And he's had the honor and privilege to face each of them at WrestleMania. They've had an impact on his career. And, of course, on top of that, he decides he wants to make mention of current superstars. He says, someone will come out and fight for hustle, loyalty, and respect, unless someone vowed to say their prayers and eat their vitamins. A man will rise up against the authority tonight, but that doesn't happen unless a bald-headed SOB crosses the boss. And, of course, The Rock has a mention of 9 months after WrestleMania, there's all sorts of Rock babies, and there's going to be a lot of Rock babies in January. Okay. And it's an honor to be in the ring with Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan, and to be in front of each and every person in the building and all around the world watching on pay-per-view and the WWE Network. And Rock busts out his catchphrase, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. And, of course, Austin says that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. Hulk Hogan ends it. Well, what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, The Rock, and the Superdome, Hogan making fun of himself, gotta love that, classy, run wild on you. So Hogan, Rock, and Austin all stand in the ring and drink beer in front of 80,000 people, and that's the first segment of WrestleMania on pay-per-view. What a moment to have 3 icons in the wrestling business standing face-to-face, toe-to-toe amongst everyone in this milestone at WrestleMania. And it was really awesome to see. And everyone was electric, to say the least. Like I said, the matches that Hulk Hogan could put on now, less than stellar, and that's being kind. But the promotion, the promos, the anticipation, all surrounding Hulk Hogan getting back in the ring again would be worth it. They really would. I'm not saying the fact that Hogan can't go, because he probably can't. You're not going to see him drop the big leg anymore. And he's only going to be chopping down the 7-footers with clotheslines and an awkward big boot. But it'd still be something that they could do. And if they want to do Hulk Hogan in the ring again, if you put him in a tag team match and you put him up against some hated heels, I think it actually might work. And this is coming from someone that's never been a Hulk Hogan fan. As a matter of fact, I cheered for Hogan in the Impact Zone when I went to TNA, but I guess it's one of those things. Sometimes when you're in with a crowd of people, and the electricity is there, and you have the moment, and you're living in that moment, and you cease to be a guy that cares about how many wrist locks are in the match, and how the finish went, and how many spots were blown. You pay more attention to everything surrounding it, and just drinking in everything for yourself. Have I ever thought I would cheer for Hulk Hogan? God, no, but I did. And I did because it was that moment. It was that awesome moment that happens once in a lifetime. That you forget about the fact that you know a Japanese finisher. And you forget about the fact that the storyline was not what you wanted it to be. And you forget the fact that somebody went over that shouldn't have. And you just drink it all in and be a fan again. And sometimes when you talk about wrestling on the regular, like I do, You kind of forget that from time to time. And it was awesome to have a moment that made us all wrestling fans again. Remember why we got interested in professional wrestling in the first place. And that's what this is all about, especially on a night as momentous as the 30th WrestleMania. So, of course, this is drinking some Mountain Dew Kickstart, of course, because why not? And they were promoting it on the pre-show. So we get the match that starts off the show. And a lot of people were saying this was going to be the Shield against the Outlaws and Kane. Well, this did not end up being the case. We started the show off with Triple H and Daniel Bryan, which meant, in my head, we were going to bookend WrestleMania with Daniel Bryan victorious. And that's what should have happened from the get-go. It made total sense. All these many months that all the Daniel Bryan fans all over the world have been getting screwed, have been felt like they've been getting gypped on the finishes that they wanted. Bryan getting the title taken away from him. All this stuff that he's gone through, fighting the Authority, like, time in, time out. It was all going to be worth it because at WrestleMania 30, Bryan was finally going to get over on everybody, all his detractors, everybody. And he was finally going to defy authority by becoming the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And that was what the endgame should have been all along. Now, was it the official endgame of WWE Creative? You know, there's a lot of arguments that would say yes and no. A lot of people say, oh, they had this plan from day one. A lot of people say, God, they hit the panic button on Batista and screwed him over. So now Daniel Bryan is back in the driver's seat with all the fans wanted from day one. So we get this match, and this match was phenomenal. Triple H had his work boots on in droves in this match. And this started off with a very signature Triple H entrance. Now he had this awesome throne, and he had this crown, and it was in gold, and it looked like it had Scott Steiner's chainmail like dangling from it, and it looked freaky as all get out. Had 3 women that I later recognized as Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte, and they were helping Triple H with this. And even Triple H, after all of this, comes out and he still does the fountain. I guess the game fountain is trademark. And he does this, which of course he stands on the ring apron and he does his pose and he spits water on everyone. This also led to Stephanie McMahon looking like if she didn't know which Anna Kendrick she wanted to be, whether she was from Up in the Air or whether she was one of the Barden Bellas in Pitch Perfect. She was really trying to be Anna Kendrick on this night, hair and everything, and she was wearing some really awesome black leather hot pants that she had back from the Attitude Era. Now, I know a lot of you and a lot of people that I was watching the actual event with in person will say that wasn't a very good look for Steph. I totally disagree. I probably would have been attacked if I would have said that in person last night, but I can say that now that I have a forum here to talk about it here on Pop. So, this match was awesome. Bryan comes to the ring, of course. He's got the Brian Pillman-esque shoulder tape, and they're selling it like there's no tomorrow. Bryan, of course, beaten into oblivion, and basically has that one Achilles heel, which is the shoulder, which, like I said, reminiscent of the late, great Flying Brian Pillman's program with Barry Windham that was done. They did the tape fist match, a Clash of the Champions. Obviously, I'm a big Pillman mark. I always have been, always will be. And it was one of the crowning achievements as a little wrestling fan when I was growing up of meeting Brian Pillman in Charleston, West Virginia. And I still have a picture to this day. It's a really awesome picture, and it was at this department store, which is now way long closed, and it's been turned into so many things over the years. And that was the first time I met Flying Brian before a WCW event. This was when Bryan was the WCW Light Heavyweight Champion, and he did a title versus title match against then WCW World Heavyweight Champion Lex Luger. You know, when he was a heel, he was using the pile driver, managed by Harley Race, and had Mr. Hughes in his corner. Yeah, they were doing that, and that's where I met Brian Pillman. So yeah, I have definitely been a big fan of Pillman's. That's the reason I call the Pillman counter and the Pillman clip and everything when I do the calls of the matches. So that's pretty much just how I am. And like I said, with a shoulder being taped up like that, the first thing that comes to mind is Brian Pillman. So, yes, I wanted to make mention of that. So, I'd love to go move for move in this match, and oh god, I easily could. But let's talk about a few high spots, and we'll go into the finish here. So, Bryan ends up nailing a swinging DDT from the apron to the floor on Triple H. Now, later on, they fight on the ring apron. Triple H locks on a hammerlock and a backdrop suplex on the ring apron. And then he ends up locking Bryan in a crossface chicken wing. Bryan ends up later on getting locked in for a German suplex, which he counters and German suplexes Triple H. Gets a 2 off of that. So Bryan hits another German suplex, and Bryan reversed from his waistlock into Triple H's crossface chicken wing. Bryan with a block on it. Hunter nails a tiger suplex. Yes, Triple H hit a tiger suplex, and it looked awesome. Both men are down. Triple H make the cover 1-2. Bryan kicks out. So he puts him on the buckle, punches away on Bryan. He climbs up, going for a superplex. Bryan blocks it and ends up hitting the sunset flip powerbomb out of the corner and gets a near fall off of that. Later on, Triple H goes for the pedigree. Bryan double leg, jackknife cover 1-2, and a kick out. Bryan hits the buzzsaw kick. Triple H is down, goes up top for the swan dive headbutt, and Bryan ends up running into the patella of Triple H. That's the knee, if you didn't know any better, and locks him in a crossface. Now, I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion. A 100% unpopular opinion. And when I said this with my group of friends last night, it was met with a lot of silence. But I will say there was a lot, and I do mean a lot, of somebody that shall not be named involved in this match. Not that there isn't normally. Not that the crossface and the swan dive headbutt, not that they're not used normally in a match. Or, in some ways, the rolling German suplex. Yeah, there was a lot of Benoit influence in this match. And yes, I probably just got turned off right now by saying Benoit's name. But yeah, it's the truth. I have to mention it. And it's something worth mentioning at this point. Something that would never be mentioned by another commentator, especially not one on television being paid by WWE. But something that Sir Owen Disney can gladly say here. Not necessarily gladly, but I mean, I can say because it's the truth. So, basically, Hunter gets muscled into the yes lock. He makes the ropes at the last second. And he's crawling towards Stephanie's cleavage. I'll throw out another truth. That's basically what he was doing. And Triple H finally makes the ropes. So he goes to the floor. Bryan follows up for the tope. And he nails the barrier, of course, and hits the barricade. He shakes off his shoulder and he hits the tope again into the barricade. And then he kicks Triple H against the barricade once more, rolls him back in, hits the missile drop kick, double down. Kip up from Bryan, and the yes kicks. And he sets up for the buzzsaw, and he nails Triple H right in the temple and gets a 2 count off of it. So Bryan's up to his feet, and he's going for the fire-breathing knee, but Triple H catches the charge into a 6 spine buster and sets up for the pedigree. 1, 2, Bryan kicks out at 3. Triple H goes to take advantage. Bryan rolls him into the small package that I thought was going to end the match, and he gets a 2 count off of that. Hunter picks him up again. Bryan gets put up against the buckle, and he starts pounding away. Triple H stops at 4 because he only has 5, like Bryan Danielson would tell you back in the Indies, and sets up for the pedigree yet again. Bryan backdrop in a bridge pin, 1-2, and a kick out. Hunter holds on yet again with the double underhook. Bryan drops down, and Hunter rains down knees to the temple of Daniel Bryan. He sets up for the pedigree one last time. Bryan nails him with the buzzsaw kick, and he goes for the second kick. Triple H ducks, and Bryan gets locked in a German suplex. He lands on his feet. Bryan runs off the buckle, hits the fire-breathing knee. 1, 2, 3, beats Triple H clean in the center of the ring, and wins the right to get into the main event of the evening. It was a tremendous match, and without any doubt, it was the best match of the night, and I thought it would be. Triple H, like I said in the beginning of this review, he had his work boots on in this match. And you can say what you want about Triple H the person, about Triple H the gimmick, but he brought it in this match, and he showed why he can still go after all these years. You take the suit off of Paul Levesque, and he's still Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's still Triple H. He's still the game. He's still what he's always been. He still brings that intensity. He still brings that ferocity, and he really put Bryan over in every single way possible in this match that started off the show. So yes, I was very happy with this contest. It was a really awesome match. Bryan went over. That was what should have happened. After the match was over, just like I anticipated would happen, Triple H, of course, sore loser he is, he attacks at the very last second because the first thing that happens, Stephanie gets in the ring and starts repeatedly slapping Bryan, and Bryan laughing in her face. Bryan stopped laughing when Triple H nails him with a clothesline in the back of the head, and then he starts ramming Bryan's arm into the ring post, further injuring Bryan, making it a question mark if he would make the main event or not. This is how drama is built, folks. It really is. And he nails him in the shoulder with a steel chair, and medical staff ends up checking on Bryan, and they help him to the back. Triple H and Stephanie, they reign supreme. So yeah, awesome match. Awesome way to kick off the show. We got our next match. It is the New Age Outlaws, and they are teaming with Corporate Kane, or the Deadbeat Dad, depending on how you want to call it, wearing his Dockers and his belt and shirtless. Yeah, Kane, God, I can't wait till this Corporate Kane gimmick is over so Kane can start wearing gear again. I'm sure he enjoys the fact he doesn't really have to get dressed anymore. Because he's like, he could walk into the building wearing that and it would work. It would fit the gimmick. So they're facing off against the Bullet Club, the Shield, which are sporting the bandanas over their faces. Now, a lot of wrestling stables over the years have done this in the past. And like I said, I brought up the Bullet Club. I really thought it was a nice little ode to the New Japan faction of the same name that just had AJ Styles join as their new leader over the weekend. So yeah, that was really interesting. I will say right now that this match was a throwaway, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't think Bryan and Triple H went too long because a lot of those same experts that know more than I do said that it was going to be the longest match of the evening. So I took them at face value. That's exactly what was going to be the case. But this match went super short, and I mean super short. This match was a squash you should see on SmackDown. That is no lie. This match was, like I said, very not fast-paced. It was just, let's get it over with, is basically what it was. And we'll go to the end of the match here. Reigns ends up going to try to take the upper hand. Kane grabs him in the goozle. Rollins nails Kane from behind. Ambrose stops the Famouser and Superman punch to Billy Gunn. And Ambrose sends the Road Dogg to the barricade on the floor. Gunn is surrounded and he's about to get destroyed. And that's exactly what happens. But first, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins hit stereo topes on Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg on the floor as Billy went to run away from the 3-on-1 advantage. Reigns spears Kane out of his boots, and then a spear to both of the Outlaws. Ambrose and Rollins tag each other in, simultaneously. They pick up Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg at the same time, mind you, for the triple powerbomb, the Cerberus powerbomb, or the Cerberus powerbomb. Hard to read sometimes. And they lay out the Outlaws at the same time. 1, 2, 3, the Shield wins this elongated squash. Don't know why. Don't know why it went this way. This match should have been something else. I know a lot of people are saying that we went with the original plan of this being Kane and the Ascension versus Kane and the Outlaws, or they did something else with this entire match. The Outlaws wanted to work with the Shield before they split up, so they did this match. The thing about that is they didn't really work with the Shield. They just kind of did a couple spots, and Shield squashed them like a bug. So yeah, there was no reason for the match to go the way it did. I don't know why it did. And we prolonged the fact that the Shield will not be splitting up as soon as everybody thought they would. Really awesome visual of the double-triple powerbomb on the Outlaws. That was really awesome. So, yes, I probably will not reference the Cerberus name again, even though it's the thing that was on the shirt. And I just happened to be wearing the Shield shirt today. I wasn't really planning on that when I started the video. So we get an awesome legend segment, which we tend to get on WrestleMania, and with Sergeant Slaughter and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and they're playing with the stack down toys. Dangerous Danny Davis shows up in a referee shirt, which is awesome. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat shows up in his red gi, and he's going to challenge the winner. Ted DiBiase basically buys the actual toys, and it's like, you can't play with these because another man has bought them. DiBiase walks in, says, wherever you are, everybody's got a price. We see Ron Simmons, and there's only one word. Damn. So yeah. Yay, they get paid. So that's all that matters. So we get our next match, which is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and actually, I will throw this out here right now. There was not 30 participants in this match. No, there were supposed to be 30 participants in this match. And apparently, if you count the actual number of people in the ring, there wasn't 30 participants in this match. There was 31. And I will list the 31 participants in just a second. I'm trying to get an actual list here, probably because I don't want to screw this up. Here we are. Thank you. Shout out to Larry Zonka there. So it was Yoshitatsu, who was never in the match, Brad Maddox, who was announced right before the end, Brodus Clay, The Great Khali, Zack Ryder, Darren Young, Drew McIntyre, Jinder Mahal, and Heath Slater of three-man band, Mark Henry, Titus O'Neil, Sheamus, I don't know why I mentioned Sheamus so long, The Miz, Santino Marella, Xavier Woods, who was not in the match either, Damian Sandow, Justin Gabriel, David Otunga, who was replacing the injured Christian apparently, the Intercontinental Champion Big E, Fandango, R-Truth, Sin Cara, Tyson Kidd, who was also not originally in the list, Goldust, Cody Rhodes, Rey Mysterio, Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler, Alberto Del Rio, The Big Show, and Cesaro, who I said a long time ago needed to be the winner of this match. And I also said that Alexander Rusev would be in this match too and would win too. But the fact remains, I said before Cesaro needed to win this, but then I found out he wasn't in the match, and I was like, well, he's not going to enter now. But he did double duty, just like Daniel Bryan did. So, let's talk about this match, shall we? This was interesting. We'll just say that right now. And basically, this wasn't a Royal Rumble, and it was never going to be. It was just literally a 31-man Battle Royal. 31 men in the same ring at one time? Yeah. Just a recipe for a cluster. So, the first eliminated is Yoshitatsu. And basically, Brad Maddox is tossed out. And then Khali eliminates Brodus Clay when he gets sent to the apron. And Khali is eliminated by three-man band. So, we see Zack Ryder get tossed by three-man band. And Darren Young tries to fight off three-man band, but he's eliminated just the same. So, basically, Drew and Jinder are eliminated by Mark Henry, single-handedly. And Mark Henry catches Heath Slater off the ropes and tosses the remaining member of three-man band over the top rope. Big Show eliminates Mark Henry himself, and Cesaro ends up European uppercut to Cody, while we see Titus O'Neil get eliminated. Santino goes for the Cobra, Miz fights it off, Xavier Woods sends Miz to the apron, and Woods nails a punch on Santino. Santino cobras Miz, eliminating him, and we see Cesaro trading European uppercuts with Sheamus, which is awesome, by the way. And time after time, Ziggler gets eliminated, but he holds on at the last minute. He's still there. So, Sandow is eliminated by a double team from the Brotherhood. We have Cody at the Beautiful Disaster, and Goldust low bridges, and Sandow goes over the top rope to the floor. So he's gone. Big E tosses out Justin Gabriel, and we have David Otunga get a quick elimination. Big E and Fandango fight on the ring apron, and Fandango kicks Big E. He gets knocked to the floor. He starts to showboat. He's dancing on the ring apron, and Sheamus with the clubbing blows. Basically, after about 20 of them, he just pushes him to the floor. Fandango eliminated, thus setting up Fandango and Big E for the Intercontinental Championship. Something I called a year ago, by the way. And at this point, we see Truth get eliminated with a press slam by the Big Show. And basically, Tyson Kidd hits an enziguri kick, goes up top, and Del Rio with a step-up enziguri kick eliminates him. And Goldust ends up getting tossed over, but he hangs on. So Cesaro and Cody are fighting on the ring apron. Cesaro kicks Cody to try to get in. He avoids Goldust's charge, and Del Rio is the one who eliminates Goldust. So at this point, Del Rio eliminates Cody, and on top of that, Sheamus trying to toss Show, Del Rio tries to powerbomb Ray, this going on simultaneously, and Ray Ranas Del Rio into the ropes, 619, and then he tries to do the same with Cesaro. Cesaro ends up nailing him with a European uppercut and eliminating him over the top rope to the floor. Cesaro sends this... Okay, let me explain this. This is hard to explain. Cesaro tosses Kofi Kingston over the top in the corner, and Kofi gets tossed to where he lands on the bottom rung of the ring steps, which means that he has literally one heel in the match, which means he's technically not eliminated yet. So that's pretty awesome, by the way. But it was all for nothing because once he hits the flying body press on Cesaro, and Trouble in Paradise on Del Rio, and then one to the Big Show. Cesaro blocks Trouble in Paradise and goes for the giant swing, and Cesaro goes to try to take out Kofi, runs into a choke slam from the Big Show. Sheamus brogue kicks Big Show. Kofi gets nailed with a brogue kick, and he's landing on the apron. Brogue kick eliminates Kofi, so Ziggler tries to skin the cat. Del Rio with a GSK, and Ziggler is gone. So Del Rio punches away on Sheamus. Sheamus fights back. Del Rio with a kick. Sheamus goes for white noise. Del Rio floats over. Cross arm breaker. And Sheamus picks up Del Rio, and both men go over the top rope to the floor. Down to the final two, Cesaro and the Big Show. So we have a series of European uppercuts and clotheslines. Cesaro sent over the top rope by the Big Show. Cesaro with a well-placed kick, and Big Show is stopped momentarily. He goes up top, and Cesaro gets nailed in the throat with a chop. Nice overhand chop in the Big Show. He picks up Cesaro. Cesaro lands on his feet. European uppercut. He scoops up the Big Show like he's a small child and deposits him on the floor, thus winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and taking the awesome gold Andre trophy. So yeah, this was awesome. And after the match was over, kudos to the Big Show. He extended his hand to Cesaro, and they shook hands, thus confirming once more, if you were not aware, that Cesaro is now a babyface. This was the right thing to do. The right thing was to put over somebody that has not been anticipated to win. If they wanted to go obvious, it would have been the Big Show, or it would have been Sheamus, or it would have been The Miz. No, they didn't go that direction. They went with a completely different path, and I thought Rusev would be the reason, and Rusev didn't even show up on the show, so he's going to be on the show tonight on Raw, and I guarantee that actually happens. So, we get our next match, and oh god, this match was awesome too. This is the Legacy match, John Cena taking on Bray Wyatt. And this was really awesome because right after the Legacy video package, which was one of the only reasons I haven't hated Eminem in so long, we had a really awesome, like, voodoo-style version of Live in Fear or Broken Out in Love by Mark Crozer and the Rels. And they were sporting, like, Eyes Wide Shut or a Clockwork Orange-style matches. Either way, it's Kubrick. So, yeah, Kubrick-style masks. We'll go with that. And it was really awesome. And the Wyatts came out, and oh god, the crowd was clapping along. They were completely 85% on the side of Bray Wyatt in this match. And this match was really good, by the way. We'll talk about this match. Cena, we'll go midway through. Cena blocks the kick, and shoulder block. And he hits the protobomb, and he goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle. And he sets up for it, and Bray presses up on his hands and does the Exorcist crab walk. And Cena's like, forget this. He's skeeved out, he goes to the floor. Wyatt ends up hitting the Uranagi and gets a 2 off of it. Nails an uppercut and an eye rake on Cena. He nails the avalanche into the corner, and Cena goes to the opposite side of the ring. When he gets back into the match, Bray charges and he runs into Cena's boots. Cena nails a tornado DDT out of the corner. 1-2, and Bray Wyatt kicks out. Cena to the apron, and he goes for the rocker dropper off the top rope, and Bray counters with a nice powerbomb, 1-2, and a kick out. It was a stack powerbomb. He basically powerbombed him to the point that he was vertical, and he was basically pressing all his weight down so Cena's shoulders were touching the canvas and only got a 2 count out of that. So Cena gets caught with a kick, and Cena finally nails the Proto Bomb, and the 5-knuckle shuffle this time connects. He sets up for the AA, and Wyatt ends up landing on his feet, and he locks up his high cradle into the Gutbuster, which he's been using a lot lately. Cena the apron, and Wyatt ends up DDTing Cena on the ring apron. Got a 2 count off of that. We get back to action. Wyatt hits the Fall of Humanity off the ropes, and something really creepy happens. He cradles Cena's head like he's a small child, and he starts singing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands while brushing Cena's head. It was so, unsettling. It was awesome. Awesome in every way possible. So Wyatt goes for the senton, and Cena moves out of the way, goes for the attitude adjustment. 1, 2, it's WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt kicks out. So Eric Rowan gets up on the ring apron with a referee distraction. Luke Harper kicks Cena in the head, and Wyatt hits the senton. This time it connects. 1, 2, Cena does kick out. So Cena goes to the floor, gets tossed by Bray, and right in front of Luke Harper's feet. The referees are kind of holding Bray Wyatt back at this point. Cena ends up spearing Harper into Justin Roberts land, or if you know, that's that nice partition where Justin Roberts likes to sit, like the timekeeper's area. I like to call it Justin Roberts land. And he grabs Cena and he gets Harper up. Wyatt tosses Cena into the ring, and he bends backwards, looking at Cena upside down again, picks up Cena's Sister Abigail, and Cena counters, ankle pick, STF, and Wyatt makes the ropes. So Wyatt ends up nailing Sister Abigail out of nowhere, 1, 2, and Cena kicks out. So Wyatt's beside himself, wondering what he has to do to put John Cena down, how he's going to extinguish the monster that he's created. He goes to the floor, and he sets up the table. So Wyatt grabs a steel chair, and Harper's still down and out, of course. The referee says, you know what, if you use it, you're going to be disqualified. So Wyatt gives the chair to Cena and basically dares him to hit him, prove his legacy, and finish me off. Cena grabs the chair. Referee's like, nope, you do it. You're going to be disqualified. So at this point, Rowan's up on the ring apron. So Cena charges Rowan, hits him with a chair anyway. Wyatt rolls him up from behind, 1, 2, and a kick out. And Wyatt goes for Sister Abigail. It gets countered into the AA, 1, 2, 3, and John Cena wins again. Okay, now I'll say right now, this match was awesome, and I will say that this match definitely built Bray Wyatt up to be a future force in WWE. Bray Wyatt will be WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and I don't even think it's going to take 3 years at this point. I would say right now, I think 2013, even though 2013 was the year of Daniel Bryan, and 2014 is the year of Cesaro, I think 2015 is the year of Bray Wyatt. But then again, that's all subject to change. I think Bray Wyatt is going to be built up into a, not necessarily an unbeatable monster, but he's got the mind games. He's already playing with Cena to the point that he's got Cena to do things that he wouldn't do normally. No, this is not leading to a heel turn as much as everybody in the IWC wants it to happen, including myself. But there is a case to be made that if you're going to turn Cena heel, we've got Daniel Bryan now, you can do that. But it's not going to happen. And if it does, it'll extremely shock me, especially at this point. So, like I said, this match was awesome. The finish took a bit to get used to, but Bray lost nothing in losing to John Cena. He hung with Cena at the grandest stage of them all and proved why Bray Wyatt is going to be big time in WWE in the future. Bray Wyatt is somebody WWE will eventually have to build the company around, and I know that will be the case. He is literally this generation's Mick Foley, without any question. So, I see nothing but great things to come. And the storyline writes itself. You have the rematch at Extreme Rules and you put Bray Wyatt over. The thing is, you're having John Cena have to be a little evil, a little demented, a little sick in order to beat Bray Wyatt at his own game. But that's what Bray wants. Bray wanted him to finish him off with that chair shot. but Cena didn't do it. He still has a little bit left, a little integrity left. I think in the weeks to come to Extreme Rules, Cena's going to lose a little bit more of his grip on reality. And I think that Bray Wyatt is going to be the master manipulator that is going to do just that. I think something drastic is going to happen tonight on Raw. And I really am curious to see in a couple of hours exactly what that drastic measure is. And what it gets to turn John Cena into all-American babyface to a monster having to do whatever it takes to dispatch his prey. Kudos to WWE for writing this storyline. So, we get our induction of the Hall of Fame, introduced by Howard Finkel, and Finkel brings out each and every member of the 2014 class of the WWE Hall of Fame on the stage. It's a nice moment, everybody comes out there. And of course, we get what actually was the only time that we actually get an update on Daniel Bryan's condition. I thought periodically throughout the night we'd get, updates on Daniel Bryan's condition from Michael Cole. But no, they only went to this one time, and Bryan's being checked over in the trainer's room to make sure he can go for his match. I've come to the part of this video that some of you are going to like and some of you are going to dislike. What did Suro and Disney think about the streak being broken? Well, I'm about to tell you exactly what I think. It was the match, the streak versus the Beast. Undertaker putting his 21-0 streak up against the Beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Now, first off, I'm going to talk about the build for this match. There's a couple of things here. Number one, I'm going to talk about history. We're going to do a little history lesson here. I'm not Dean Douglas. I don't have a chalkboard behind me. I just have a blue wall with a big giant sun behind me because of the lighting here, because of the high gloss paint. But we'll take care of that eventually. Here's a little history lesson. 2010. There was a meeting during a UFC event of Brock Lesnar. He was defending the UFC championship, and The Undertaker was in attendance. He says, he looks past Brock as he walked by. He's like, do you want to do this? And apparently, from what I've been reading all day, which could be hyperbole. I've always wanted to call it hyperbole. It's hyperbole. It's hard to say. Regardless, it's something that you have to mention, that it was pretty much decided right there. Supposedly, and I don't know this for a fact, I'm just going to say this is hearsay. This is speculation, because I'm all about speculation in the Horror Nights video, so I'm going to speculate here. Speculation that The Undertaker coaxed Brock Lesnar to facing him at WrestleMania by saying he would put him over if he stepped in the ring with him. Only 3 people in the world probably know that. Well, I'd say 4. Maybe a little bit more if other people have, big mouths, which they could. But for argument's sake, the only people that could have known this right now were Vince, Hunter, Brock, Taker, and Paul Heyman. Yeah, obviously Stephanie would know too, but that's another story altogether. So did this set up the eventual elimination of the streak? Well, that's anyone's guess. But this set the wrestling world a-spinning that Brock Lesnar, who had forsaken professional wrestling to go into mixed martial arts, has now been challenged by The Undertaker, who has went on record saying he's an MMA fan, of course using the Gogoplata in his own matches as well. And even used a key lock in the match against Lesnar last night. So, this started everything. And we're wondering what was going to happen with The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. We're going to get this match, And then it was a question that, could The Undertaker's body handle it? Now, Taker throughout the years has done, I can't say practice, but he's gone over various spots in his own personal gym with people he's faced in the past to make sure everything would work to a T on the grandest stage in the mall. I understand that. Makes sense, right? Well, it was known there that Brock has a more high-impact style than somebody usually would face. And Undertaker has kind of slowed down throughout the years. Father Time has caught up with Undertaker, and he started to look, I'll be honest, he started to look kind of old. But, I mean, no disrespect. I mean, he started to look his age. He didn't look like the Undertaker of old. And the matches against Triple H, and the matches against Shawn Michaels, and the match against CM Punk last year really made me see that Undertaker was starting to get on in years, and he may not have much left. I went on record saying there were 3 matches left for Undertaker at WrestleMania after this match against Lesnar. After he squashed Brock Lesnar, and then next year he'd face Sting, and then next year he'd face Bray Wyatt, and then he'd retire and go into the WWE Hall of Fame the night before WrestleMania, and he would face John Cena and beat John Cena and retire undefeated. Well, that was not the case. And it was said a lot today that Brock may have been picked as the successor to the streak on that evening at that UFC event. Unbeknownst to everyone else, obviously. So, we weren't sure we were going to get this match. And there were rumors that Undertaker wanted Daniel Bryan. And that ended up getting changed, of course. Well, the thing about it is with the streak the way it is, you would think that The Undertaker would be the only one that would pick his successor. Pick the only man that would defeat the streak. Would it be somebody that nobody knows? No, definitely not. But the streak could make somebody. And it could make someone that is not established into an instant star. It could take someone that is absolutely hated to the highest level of being hated. Or it could just confuse everyone and be like, why did this happen? This makes no sense. Well, let's talk about that, shall we? So, let's talk about the build-up to this match. And I talked about it on Raw and SmackDown recap videos over the past couple of months. And the build-up was this. When Undertaker challenged Brock Lesnar, he put a pen through his hand. Remember my line, the pen is mightier than the sword, the tattoo on his chest. And he chokeslammed him through a table. And Brock got nothing at all. Nothing. The go-home show of Raw, right before WrestleMania last Monday, a week ago to this day, what happened? Lesnar finally got an F5. That's his only heat of the match. So, Wrestling Booking 101, which gets rewritten every single day, it appears, would tell you that the streak's in jeopardy. The fact that Taker got over so many times, and then Lesnar finally got that F5. It's like, oh, good, it's fine. It's okay, don't worry about it. Undertaker's not losing. There's no way. Well, apparently there was. And I will say right now, before I get started with the match itself, which it wasn't very good, and if this is Taker's last WrestleMania match, it wasn't something you'd want to go out on. I would say it takes a toll in your life when you have to live up to expectation. Now, you have a streak. Every one of your matches, the last 21 WrestleManias you have participated in, you have to live up to everyone's expectation. Everyone's saying the streak's never going to end, the streak's never going to die, The Undertaker is immortal. Well, the thing was, trying to live up to those expectations can be so taxing to the point that you just want it to be over. Maybe Undertaker just wanted it to be over. Not that he was trying to say anything about his fans or anything like that. Maybe The Undertaker just was done. His body couldn't do it anymore. But he had one last showcase last night to show the fans one final time. I mean, if you really think about it, we should have known. We really should have. Like, after Bill Moody died, you have to think a part of Mark Calloway died along with him. Mark Calloway the man, not the Undertaker wrestling gimmick. Mark Calloway the man. Someone he's been friends with for years. Someone he rode the roads with. Someone he knew like the back of his hand. Another brother, a father figure, if you will. When it came down to it, maybe the passing of Paul Bearer, the wrestling character, and Bill Moody, the man, really was enough. Maybe Undertaker didn't want to do it anymore. Maybe he was like, you know what, I want to wake up tomorrow and I don't want to be the Undertaker anymore. My body's getting old. I've still got fans and I respect every single one of them and I appreciate everything that they've all done for me, but I'm done. But before I'm done, I want to have one last match to show myself. So what happens? At the Hall of Fame, he comes out. For the first time at the Hall of Fame, something that's completely all about breaking kayfabe. What happens? He shows himself. He's dressed, of course, in gimmick. And he raises the urn to the memory of William Moody, Paul Bearer. The streak mode, 2K14. Why was that even an option? Make you think that WWE knew way in advance this was going to happen. Because why had the streak ever be mentioned in a video game? It hasn't. Until now. You could beat the streak. You never had that option before. Maybe that should have let us know something was up. The matches against Triple H's, the matches against Shawn Michaels, the match against CM Punk last year all took its toll. Even when the Shield triple powerbombed on SmackDown, still, all of it took its toll. And it wasn't The Undertaker evolved. It was a man who has done some stuff. Who has been down the roads for so many years, it was just time. It was time for everything to end. But given the fact that it's his streak, and Vince had so much respect for The Undertaker as a character and as a person, he let him pick his successor. He didn't want to build anyone. He didn't need to build anyone. No one in the company deserved it at this point. There are all sorts of people that could say you could put it on a Roman Reigns, or you can give it to Bray Wyatt, or even Cesaro. No. Give it to somebody established. Wouldn't be The Rock, no. You put it on somebody who's a legit fighter. Someone that you obviously have history with, and somebody that gets it to the point that he won't just treat it as just something. This could propel Brock Lesnar to the stratospheres that he's been trying to get away from for so long. Don't forget, Brock hasn't won any matches, really, since returning. He's been a monster. He's been a presence. He's been a monstrous presence. But he's not really done much. And this right here is the ultimate calling card. This is the ultimate heel heat. This is the ultimate... But think about it. I know a lot of fans right now are upset. I know a lot of fans aren't understanding why this happened. I know a lot of fans are trying to find loopholes to see what happened. I mean, I saw the count at the beginning. To me, it looked like the count was botched. But, I mean, that was the finish. But, I mean, the count looked like it was kind of botched. Because at the 3 count, it's like the referee, like, waved it off and called it a 2. But, yeah, that was interesting. I rewatched it again and made sure that I saw what I saw. And, yeah, it was a 3 count. It was a legitimate 3 count. It just, everybody was in such shock and awe of what happened. They just didn't want to believe it. That the streak was over. And the graphic came up 21-1, and everybody just, like, their hearts sunk. And apparently, for people that were there live last night, it brought down the entire rest of the show. And, of course, in essence, it probably made Daniel Bryan's moment at the end of the show be a little bit less impactful than it could have been, given the fans were a little bit more into it from the previous matches. Because, obviously, the Divas match didn't do any favors for them. So let's talk about this match, shall we? If this was the storied end of The Undertaker's WrestleMania career, he went out with a whimper. But the end was spectacular. And if you want to start something, and you want to create buzz, and you want to create chaos, and the fact of unpredictability, this is where you start. It's not a very favorable opinion that Brock Lesnar is the one that broke the streak, but it made sense. Once you think about it, once you sit down and think about it, it made sense from every single way possible. History, everything was there. And The Undertaker himself was the reason why this happened. Because he didn't have to go forever. And now he can go out in the sunset in a very storied career that will be remembered for years to come. I don't know what the hell this means for Sting. Or if they could still use this and do Icon versus Legend at WrestleMania 31. But then again, are there people that are going to care the fact that the streak's on the line? Or are there people going to understand that now the streak's not on the line anymore, that maybe Sting has a chance to win? Or maybe Sting can win. Or maybe Sting will win. I mean, I don't know. It's possible. Will we see Sting on Raw tonight? That is the million-dollar question. I think it still may happen. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait a couple more hours to find that out. So let's talk about this match, shall we? Taker ends up hitting a running DDT midway through the match, double down, and Lesnar charges in, gets caught with a boot in the face, and Taker with his punches, and Irish whip, running clothesline in the corner, and he goes for a second running clothesline in the corner, and he does connect with it. Snake Eyes and big boot off the ropes, drops the leg, 1-2, Brock Lesnar kicks out. Grabs Lesnar in the goozle and choke slam, Lesnar kicks out at 2. So Taker picks up Lesnar. And Brock pulls the F5 out of nowhere, Taker kicks out. So Heyman's giving advice at ringside, basically saying, you know what, Brock, you got him where you want him. He's acting a lot like Mickey, like Burgess Meredith and Rocky at this point. He really is, honestly. He's like Mickey for Brock Lesnar's Rocky Balboa, even though Rocky Balboa is a staunch babyface, and Brock Lesnar now is probably the most hated man on the universe, even though it's not his fault. So, he ends up, excuse me, I knew this was going to happen. He's standing above the Undertaker, and of course you know what's going to happen on this. Undertaker ends up locking Brock in the Hell's Gate. And Brock powerbombs him out of it. And Taker is down right now. Brock goes back to work on the leg and pulls him to the center of the ring. Taker locks on Hell's Gate once more. Brock again picks up Undertaker and again powerbombs him out. So Lesnar gets up to his feet, and Undertaker makes his way up to his feet and locks Brock in a key lock. Oh, excuse me. I read it faster. So Undertaker locks on the Kimura, and the Kimura is applied, Taker fights out, and he locks in a key lock of his own. Yes, it's a nice little trading here. So the key lock is applied on Brock. Brock's in serious trouble at this point. Taker gets taken down to the mat, and key lock's still locked on. Brock gets the ropes. Referee calls for the break. So Lesnar punches away at the ribs. Boots Taker, and he hits the shoulder blocks in the corner. And he charges in, Taker gets the boot up. Old School does connect this time, but not the way it wanted to. Old School gets turned into another F5. Taker kicks out at 2. So Lesnar stands above the Undertaker yet again. Waistlock, German suplex. Well, it was more of a belly-to-back suplex, but still. It's the Undertaker. I understand why he wouldn't want to take a German suplex from Brock Lesnar. So, waistlock, second belly-to-back suplex. Referee's checking on both men at this point. Lesnar rains down the kicks and vicious forearms. And then the punches to the midsection. Lesnar climbs the buckle, punches Taker, and Taker grabs Brock by the throat. No, I'm thinking about where we are here. He is pounding away at him in the corner, basically, like a 10 punch in the corner. And Taker grabs him out of the corner. Last ride, 1-2, and no. Taker goes for the tombstone. Nails it. Brock kicks out at 2. He crossed his arms. He kicked out at 2. Trouble in paradise. Taker sets up. Cuts the neck. Picks up Lesnar. Lesnar counters, not to a tombstone, muscles him up into the F5, and 1, 2, the world stops at 3. Brock Lesnar has broken The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania. And yeah, the match itself wasn't very good. It was, I will say it was methodical, to say the least. The pacing was very slow-paced. Very, like I said, methodical is the right word to use at this point. It wasn't, like, the worst match I've ever seen, but definitely wasn't the best, and certainly not the best Undertaker match we've seen at WrestleMania, without any question. It's not as bad as, like, the debacles with Giant Gonzalez or anything like that. No, it's not that bad, but I mean, it wasn't something fitting the Undertaker's last WrestleMania match. That's why I'm thinking it's possible we haven't seen the last match for the Undertaker at WrestleMania, but then again, from what everybody said last night, and the fact the Undertaker got sent to the hospital with concussion symptoms. I would say concussion syndrome. Concussion symptoms, he was kept overnight. I don't know anything more about that right now. We haven't heard anything from the Undertaker camp, anything from WWE talking about Undertaker's condition, so we don't know what's going on with that. I do know Vince ended up missing the main event because him and Brock charged the hospital after it was over to make sure Undertaker was okay. And, yeah, the match definitely took a lot out of Undertaker. I mean, I don't want to mention, the smart thing. They were blown up and everything like that. Well, they were. And they were, sweating profusely. But they were, they went through a 20-minute match. And it just, it never got started. And the crowd just, done. And obviously the guy that's now a meme on the internet, the guy with the white yes shirt, and he basically has his mouth agape, and just, the whole crowd just, done after this. Like, I know people that are saying, there's two camps here. People are saying, I'm never going to watch wrestling again after this. And then there's camps that are saying, I'm not going to watch wrestling in this. Oh, wait a minute, Raw's on in a couple hours. I'm going to watch this. Shh. Okay, it begins again. So, yeah. You know, that's what I'm saying for that. So, that was interesting. Should the streak have ended to Brock Lesnar? Yes and no. Do I think other people should have got it? Yeah, for sure. But, I mean, when it comes down to it, it made sense. Like I said, Lesnar's a legit badass. And it made sense for it to happen. And without the last F5, Wrestling Booking 101 said the streak ended on Sunday. And it did. Even with Wrestling Booking 101, like I said, the pages get rewritten every day. You have the fact that, excuse me, you have the fact that there is now a weight lifted off the shoulders. The Undertaker doesn't have to win every WrestleMania anymore. I mean, he could lose now if they have another WrestleMania match. But then again, a lot of people are saying after this, Taker's done. Like, the Undertaker gimmick is done. And he was saying goodbye at the Hall of Fame. He said goodbye in his match last night. I mean, this could be the end of the Undertaker in the WWE. Now, it's really solemn. I mean, I'm not even an Undertaker fan, really, but when it comes down to it, I mean, it's kind of a solemn fact, like the end of the career of the dead man, and it's like, I would say this would be a guarantee he goes into the Hall of Fame next year, but I don't know at this point. I know a lot of people are saying The Rock is going to be the headliner this year, and I don't think The Rock and The Undertaker share the same WrestleMania. I think what happens is we do WrestleMania in Dallas in 32, and that's when Taker goes in. I don't know if he's going to do, if we do Icon versus Legend against Sting at 31, I think that still could happen. Sting's anticipation talking about how at WrestleCon he was basically quoted saying, I have a new favorite number and that's 31. So we could still do Undertaker and Sting, but it doesn't have the same effect as it used to. It's not Sting trying to break the streak, it's Sting trying to solidify the fact that an icon can beat a legend. I like that storyline. I think that storyline has something to it, so we could still see Sting. That's too many S words in the same line. But what had to follow this? The crowd's dead, deflated, depressed, doesn't want to do anything. Let's send out the Divas. So we had our Divas Championship match. AJ Lee defending against Tamina Snuka, Brie and Nikki Bella, Eva Marie, Natalya, Summer Rae, Cameron, Naomi, Rosa Mendez, Layla, Oksana, Emma, Alicia Fox. Yeah, this match was short. I'm not going to really talk anything about this. At one point, Cameron ends up getting her top, pulled off. But she held it on as she was locked in the dilemma by Emma. And she hits the Emma Mite sandwich in the corner, and Alicia kicks Emma, and Layla kicks Alicia, and Oksana with her David Otunga-style spinebuster on Layla. Rosa hits a side slam on Natalya. It's basically finishers galore at this point. Naomi hits rear view on Rosa, and Tamina super kicks Naomi's face off. Eva shoves Tamina down and blows a kiss to her, and she gets sent to the floor by sheer, fright at this point. She basically just runs away. Nikki with chin breaker and Brie mode drop kick out of the corner, and Nikki and Brie face off after they hit stereo topes on everyone. Think about it. So Nikki hits the rack attack on Brie. Alicia Fox and Layla break up the cover. Alicia with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker on Nikki, which is one of the best things I've seen her do in a long time. Natty with a butterfly suplex on Alicia. Samoan drop on Natalya. Goes up top for the Samoan splash. Naomi knocks her off the top turnbuckle, and Oksana stops her. Natty ends up hooking her up with the powerbomb. Tower of Doom spot, and Natty makes the cover on Oksana. Tamina pulls her out of the ring. Natty with a discus lariat on Oksana, and then one on Tamina. AJ kicks Natty, gets in the ring, locks on the Black Widow after the satellite, and Naomi taps out via AJ tapping her out. Literally, AJ grabbing her hand and tapping her out. So I have a feeling that is a loophole for tonight. AJ Lee dropping the Women's Championship, the Divas Championship tonight on Raw because of this. Now, this was Vicky Guerrero's last night in the company, supposedly. So, it's going to be done a different way, but there is still footage of AJ using her own hand to tap her out. So, yes. AJ and Naomi getting a rematch tonight. Naomi winning the Divas Championship and thus putting more into Total Divas of the season. So we get a really awesome moment if you're a longtime wrestling fan. Mean Gene Okerlund in the back. Hulk Hogan shows up and he's saying they're rocking the Superdome, and here comes Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Piper wearing his villain shirt. It's awesome. He says Hogan's doing a good job. He says he heard Hulk talk about winning at WrestleMania, and it bothered Orndorff because he's the one that ate the pin. Orndorff talked for the first time in forever, and he said for 30 years, people have brought up time after time that he was the one who lost at WrestleMania. And he says, you know, if I had a partner that was worth a damn and would have watched my back, I probably wouldn't have lost. Here comes Mr. T. And he says, I pity the fool who talks about the Hulk. And of course he doesn't mention his mama. And here comes Pat Patterson in a referee shirt. And the match, the main event for WrestleMania 1 is literally staring us right in the eyes. The only thing missing is Ace Bob Orton and Superfly Jimmy Snuka. That's the only thing missing. And it's awesome. And Hogan says, you know what, let's bury the hatchet, brother. So, be a man, Piper. And he reluctantly goes to shake hands, and he gives him Mr. Wonderful's hand, and Orndorff shakes hands with Hogan, and Piper shakes hands with Hogan, and he goes to shake hands with Mr. T, and he's like, forget it. And they shook hands, and it was awesome! It was such a great, momentous moment for WrestleMania 30, considering the fact that they were the main event at WrestleMania 1 in Madison Square Garden back in 1985. So many years have passed. So yeah, that was interesting. Very interesting, to be totally honest. We got our next match in our main event of the evening. World Heavyweight Championship on the line. But first, Rev Theory plays Randy Orton in the ring. An awesome performance. The guy that's the lead singer of Rev Theory looks like Corey Graves, at least from my vantage point, from watching the show. And it was really awesome. I don't like Randy Orton at all. Batista comes out, no reaction. Daniel Bryan comes out, blows the roof off the place, of course. I'm sure it would have blown off the roof a little bit more if Undertaker hadn't lost 2 segments before, but I guess I understand. So we go midway through this match. Batista goes up top, Orton with a punch, a headbutt, going for the Orton Crest Superplex, and Batista punches away on Orton. Orton with headbutts to try to get the upper hand, and he hits the Orton Crest Superplex. Bryan with a Swan Dive headbutt from Batista locks the S-lock on Randy Orton. Here comes Triple H and Stephanie to the ring. Hunter pulls the ref when Bryan's about to get the 3 count, and Orton goes to the floor. Bryan sees Hunter, and he ends up running into Batista's vicious spinebuster. He shakes the rope, preparing to finish Bryan off. Here comes special referee Scott Armstrong, who apparently is this generation's Nick Patrick, and he's the official referee of the Authority. Batista bomb on Bryan, 1, 2, Bryan kicks out. So, Batista charges Bryan out of the way, and Batista hits the ring post hard. He sends Armstrong to the floor because it's no DQ at this point. He nails the tope on the Triple H, Scott Armstrong, and Stephanie, so he knocks Stephanie down. So Stephanie's down and out. Bryan back in the ring, and Batista's in trouble at this point. He's still kind of locked in the corner. Hunter into the ring. He grabs the sledgehammer. Bryan kicks Hunter and grabs the sledgehammer. He nails the game in the face, knocking him off the ring apron. Bryan rolls up Batista, and Orton makes the save. So, Orton and Batista are face-to-face midway through this match. Bryan's down and out on the floor as we go midway through this match. And basically, Orton and Batista are tossing things left and right at the announce table, getting ready for its destruction. So, Bryan gets nailed with the ringside monitor by Batista, and Orton sets the ringside steps up against the table. Something devious is afoot. Batista puts Bryan on the table, picks him up for a Batista bomb. When he tosses him from the Batista bomb, Randy Orton leaps in the air and hits a neck breaker through the table, thus landing on the said television monitor on the floor, busting his back open and screwing him up hardcore. So both men are down and out at this point. It was a hell of a spot. And kudos to Randy Orton for finishing the match after this, which I'm sure is putting him in a lot of pain. I believe Bobby Heenan said it best a long time ago. It's Excedrin headache number 9, to say the least. He's like eating those Advil like they're Tic Tacs right now. Well, I don't even know if we see Orton on Raw tonight. It's possible we may not. If he does, I don't think he wrestles. If he does, kudos to Randy Orton for doing that after going through what he went through at WrestleMania last night. So Batista stands on the table to watch what happened. Orton and Bryan are both down and out, and the medical staff are checking on Bryan, so they call for a stretcher. Batista helps Orton up, and Bryan is getting fitted with a neck brace. They strap him to the stretcher, and Batista spinebusters Orton on the Carnage. So Orton goes for the snake bite later on, and Batista ends up countering with a backdrop, sends Orton over the top rope to the floor. Orton trips Batista up and snakebite DDT from the apron to the floor. Bryan wants to pull the Mick Foley. He gets off the gurney. He does not want to stay down. He will not stay down. This will be Daniel Bryan's moment regardless of his health at this point. So he rolls off of it. He's refusing medical treatment, and he's going to get back in this match, and he does exactly that. Orton picks him up, and he whips him hard into the steps, rolls Bryan into the ring, and follows up. He starts pounding the mat like an idiot, setting up for the RKO, and Bryan counters with a yes lock, and Bryan nailed from behind by Batista to break up the hold. So Bryan locks the yes lock on Batista, Orton stops him, and sends Bryan hard into the corner and back into the ring apron. So Orton puts Batista on the buckle, and the European uppercut punches away. Orton starts pounding the mat on Batista, goes for the RKO, and Batista goes for the body check, which gets countered with the leapfrog from Orton that sends Bryan to the floor, courtesy of Batista charging into him with that shoulder tackle. Orton nails the RKO, 1, 2, and at 3, Batista kicks out. So after Taker lost, all bets are off what the finish is going to be. So it was believable Orton could have won right there. But no. Batista's down and out. Bryan's down and out on the floor. Orton sets up for the punt kick, and Bryan nails the fire-breathing knee out of nowhere. Batista tosses Bryan to the floor, and he makes the cover. 1, 2, Orton again kicks out. Sets up for the Batista bomb. And he hits it, just like I thought he would. Bryan ends up nailing Batista with the fire-breathing knee. Locks the yes lock on Batista, and taps Batista out. Daniel Bryan is your WWE World Heavyweight Champion in the main event of WrestleMania 30. And that's exactly how it should have went. There's pyro. There's a ticker tape parade. Confetti everywhere. You can barely see anything. Bryan standing in the ring. His sister and his niece get in the ring and celebrate with Daniel Bryan. What a momentous occasion for Daniel Bryan and Daniel Bryan's fans in New Orleans, and that's how we go home on WrestleMania 30. Wow. What a night. What a night. And now we look towards WrestleMania 30's aftermath. It's Raw tonight in about 2 hours, since this video's taken almost 2 hours to do. I'm sorry about that, but it's WrestleMania. Come on, people. It's a 4-hour event. I gotta do something. So yes, we look towards what's going to happen at WrestleMania. So what do we have right now? What are we seeing from this? Well, I'll tell you what we're seeing from this. We're going to get a lot of aftermath. Aftermath in this, between Cesaro and Swagger, that's going to lead us to Extreme Rules. The Usos finding a new challenger for the WWE Tag Team Championships. I think we get some sort of number one contenders match tonight, so we can find out who's going to be facing the Usos at Extreme Rules. Obviously, it's not the Real Americans, and it's definitely not going to be the Matadors, so, and it won't be Ryback. So I would think at this point it's time to put some people together to try to make some new tag teams, because it's a new era, because WrestleMania is over, and now we hit the reset button, just like we do every single year. Fandango eliminated Big E, so what's going to happen? Fandango and Big E are going to feud over the Intercontinental Championship. They had a few awesome matches a couple of months ago, and I think that's going to be making come to fruition exactly what I said a year ago. Fandango will be a singles champion in 2014. I said 2013, but forget about that. He will be a singles champion for this year's over, and he will take the Intercontinental Championship. I think at this point we also take the U.S. title off Dean Ambrose. I think that happens sooner rather than later. I think that needs to happen now that he's a babyface. So yeah, put the title on a heel at this point. Apparently there were rumors that there was going to be a program coming up very soon with Big E and Alberto Del Rio. I think Fandango gets that now. I could be wrong. Maybe Big E ends up facing Fandango. Maybe he ends up facing ADR. Who knows? Could be interesting to see where we go with that. We have a true WrestleMania moment with Hogan, Rock, and Austin all in the center of the ring. It was amazing. Only thing missing was Wade Barrett. Sorry, Wade Barrett should have been there. Would have been awesome. The definite aftermath of what happened at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan is the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. It's going to be interesting to see what is said about that. If they try to strip him, I don't think that's going to happen after what they did with The Undertaker. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what matches come out of this. Cesaro's got the Andre Trophy now, so obviously he's going to be carrying that out. And I think we see the next chapter in the Wyatt family saga against John Cena. I think we're pushing Cena to his breaking point, and I think that's going to happen before Extreme Rules, leading to Extreme Rules with Bray Wyatt getting the win. Paul Heyman will be on Raw gloating about what happened in the match with Brock Lesnar, and who knows who's going to try to shut Paul Heyman up. Who's the next challenger for Brock Lesnar? And are we going to see Brock Lesnar on television for a while? Who knows? We're going to find out sooner rather than later. Maybe Roman Reigns. That'd be interesting. So, the match I really want to see is Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan. That match needs to happen. Who's going to be the one to take the title off AJ? Who's going to take the Divas Championship? Probably Naomi, and I think it probably happens tonight. And, like I said, so many things to talk about, and we have talked about in this almost 2 hours that we've been here talking about WrestleMania 30. But like I said, give me a break. It's 4 hours, plus it was a 3.5-hour Hall of Fame. So the fact that this almost went 2 hours, yeah, it could have went a whole lot longer than that if I would have been a lot more specific of what I said. So, another WrestleMania in the books, and one of the best WrestleManias I've seen in a long time. And I had an amazing time. The live event, the live experience, hanging out with Will and Ben and everyone else, that was pretty cool. Always enjoy that every year, and the show was great. I mean, everything made sense. Sometimes it took a little bit longer to make some sense out of it, but everything made sense in this realm of things, to be honest. So yeah, WrestleMania was good. I very much enjoyed it. A lot better than last year. So yeah, it was a good event, and I was happy to say that everything fit into place. And for the things that didn't necessarily make sense at the time, think about it and know that there's probably something we don't know about yet that's on the horizon that could be coming sooner rather than later. Will we see Sting on Raw tonight? Probably. Will we see Alexander Rusev on Raw tonight? Most definitely. What will happen tonight on Raw? Who knows? But we're thinking. We're talking about WWE. And that is the thing that you need to think about right now. So, if you haven't yet subscribed to WWE Network, you're not going to get me to give you a glowing recommendation to do that, but I will say that, yeah, it's awesome. Definitely check it out if you get a chance to. $9.99 a month, come on. Seriously, I mean, you can cut back something a month so you can enjoy WWE, WCW, and ECW, whatever you want. So yeah, it's going to be awesome, and interesting to see what happens with Legends House and all the various other programmings coming. When Clash of Champions comes, that's going to be awesome for me, because I haven't seen all the Clash of Champions. I really want to sometime. So that was WrestleMania. Wrestling fans, we will talk again about Raw, the WrestleMania post edition of Raw, which is going to be tonight. So tomorrow's video will be Raw, and we're going to talk a little NXT. NXT will be coming soon. It won't be Wednesday because I already talked NXT this week, so I don't know what's going to happen Wednesday. We'll find out sooner rather than later. We got NXT and SmackDown return next week. And, of course, Raw next week, and we are leading towards Extreme Rules now. So, Extreme Rules next month, so looking forward to that. And I got a lot of things that are coming up. Halloween Horror Nights news coming out like gangbusters, so I've got a lot of stuff to talk about with that. Don't know if the video is going to be Wednesday yet. Who knows? Maybe some special guests coming to pop soon. Who knows? It's possible. May end up seeing Will and Ben sooner rather than later. So, we got that. We got brand new verses coming this Sunday. We got AJ's movie reviews. We'll be talking about Rio 2 and Oculus and Draft Day, as well as Jim Jarmusch's new movie, which the name escapes me for the moment now because I can't remember. I believe it's Only Lovers Left Alive. Yes, I was right. Cool. So yeah, that's coming, and all sorts of awesome is coming to pop soon as well. Horror Nights videos coming down the truck very soon. And a lot of things to talk about. So, in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, and help spread the word about Pop. If you'd like to like our Facebook fan page, it's Sorrow and Disney Pop. If you'd like to go ahead and Be my friend on Facebook. Send me a friend request. Send me an invite if you'd like to. You can. It's Sir Owen Disney it's Owen Disney. Very, very simple, very easy to find. And if you'd like to tweet me, it's at Sir Owen Disney. Last but certainly not least, you want to send your thoughts, comments, queries, and opinions, things you want to talk about WrestleMania 31, or your thoughts on WrestleMania itself, or if you want to just talk wrestling, or Disney, or Universal, or Halloween Horror Nights with me, send me an email. Or if you want to be a popcaster yourself, send me an email. It's really simple. It's sirowendisney@gmail.com. In the meantime, thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and I hope you guys and girls out there enjoyed WrestleMania. And until tomorrow for Raw, boys and girls, that's all I gotta say about that.